played a lot in nightclubs because I just didn't give a fuck. And then when I started reading all the game stuff, I overread it. And it fucked you up. I started trying to be all this like, you know, trying to be all smooth and perfect. It fucked me over.
When I was authentic had the opposite effect.
Yeah, when I was charging around with a bottle of vodka, like not giving a fuck, you know, girls liked it because they just felt this very intense masculine presence. And I clearly didn't give a shit because I'm a bit leathered. And when I started trying to be all nuanced and like delicate, then they're just like, who's this clown?
But I think not only that is that you're also comparing yourself. You're thinking like, oh, this is not the perfect approach. I didn't say like the perfect push-pull.
Right.
And then it puts you in your head instead of just being fucking honest with the girls.
And,
you know what I mean?
And being present. Being present. Just being present. Like presence is a massively underrated masculine trait, right? And it's like reading that charisma myth again, or listening to bits of it where she talks about the 3 elements of charisma being warmth, presence and power, right?
So you're saying it takes away from your presence because you're thinking about basically the perfect thing that you need to be saying.
We're overthinking it. It's like we've read so much game material, we're trying to do all this fucking complicated bullshit which we didn't need to do. And some of the most attracted I've ever seen women to me has been when I'm not worried about all that bullshit. I'm very in the moment. I'm just like doing and saying whatever I want, and I'm just owning it. Like I'm being quite physically aggressive, not in a fighting way, but just doing what I want, and just you can see they just like it because it forces them into that feminine energy.
Yeah, well, this is something we were talking about just now, is that girls like to feel that you are dominant, you are more alpha than them, that you can handle the situation. There's that great thing where...
And we're trying to be Russell Branding it, and we're trying to be all this like delicate...
We're trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah, right? Trying to be all this delicate flirting nuance. And it's like, no, you can be sharp-witted and quick, but actually you know where your strengths lie, which is actually bringing a bit of alpha energy and dominance to the situation. And I think that gets lost because we overread this pickup stuff. We think we have to be push, pull, and indirect, and like it's got to be perfect. It's just fucking bullshit.
If you read the pickup material, it's actually completely opposite to being masculine because it's trying to convince people into liking you.
Yeah.
Which is fucking. It's something that I dealt with for years. Before getting into this, because I saw these guys were very dominant.
We should be recording this. All right.
It's recording, yeah.
Good.
I saw all these guys that were really dominant, just acting normal,
like
and they were getting laid like
the classic guys, right? So the guys in your like South African, like the rugby team at your school, right?
Yeah.
Probably not much going on upstairs, like thick as shit, Afrikaans, right? But very big. Dominant, like just fucking big guys, right? And they don't give a shit. They've got high levels of social freedom because they don't care about what other people think. Yeah. They're a bit switched off, so they're not in their own head the whole time. They're quite present, and they're very alpha.
Just not giving a fuck, just like having a bit of fun.
And owning it, just grabbing a girl and bringing her over, like that. And that's why I think originally that 60 years of challenge stuff really vibed with me, and the good-looking loser stuff vibed with me because it's like you go up to a guy and you escalate a bit. That's dominant. You're not looking for permission. You're just like, I think she's hot.
It's very masculine, right?
It's very masculine.
It's very masculine. Whereas like the complete opposite of that is like learning the push-pull
and all that
try
bullshit,
and get her to like you. And there was this massive sort of, what would you call it? The two approaches were just so different, but everyone was saying, oh, you have to learn all of this game theory. But people who were getting really good results weren't doing that. So I was like, what's going on here? You know, they were just being more honest.
And I've noticed a direct correlation between guys overlearning content and trying to just be they're all in their own head because they're trying to do all this stuff that they don't need to do. And actually, I'm a big believer in the less. I mean, we're big on just guys taking action and throwing them in because we know from experience that's what gets them results. It's not sitting in a hotel room getting them to do all this fucking like NFL style, Madden style tactics, A equals B plus C and all this bullshit. Just go and speak to human beings, project your sexual intent and own it. And that's really that simple. And obviously be playful and don't be like a serial killer. Don't be really serious. Don't take it too like seriously. You're interacting with women, and I think a great frame you always talk about is this daddy-daughter frame.
I'm your daddy.
Yeah, but basically, like, see the girl as a bit like she's a child and she's in the moment, or a bit like a fluffy puppy, right? Yeah. Don't take her too seriously, and that's a very masculine thing to do. Like, again, it's a lot of women who, they say that, they'll be like, that's so disrespectful, but in reality, they're going to say that, but they're going to be banging the dude who is dominant.
Well, yeah, they kind of look at her actions, not her words, right?
Exactly.
That's the thing, and I think that one of the biggest things I keep on banging on about this Mark Manson spoke about. He was like, you can't be one girl's dream without being a complete joke to another.
And it's so true.
And that just gives you permission to be honest. It gives you permission to be authentic. It gives you permission to just shoot the shit with a girl, and just have fun and not worry about the outcome as well. And then the girls, it's like almost niching. In business they always say niche your product down so that you can really attract your audience. essentially it's just like niching yourself down to attract the girls that really like you. And then when you do that, the girls that are very attracted to you are fucking head over heels for you, because it's different, right? It's not vanilla, it's not chocolate, it's not caramel, it's like chocolate mint from, you know, the UK with a twist of fucking whatever. It's very unique, right? And people really, really vibe with that.
And I remember when I was back in the day when I was in London doing this stuff before I started traveling, and things got a bit more hair and scare 'em, because there's a lot more things to manage. When I was lining up, my date day used to be Sunday, and I used to line up 3 or 4 dates on Sunday, and my tactic was nothing special. It was get a bit tipsy, it was sit close to her, do a bit of small talk, but basically just escalate hard and drag her back to my house. And then 2 or 3 out of 4 times, usually they'd come back to my house and something would go down.
Yeah.
And there'd be 1 or 2 times where it doesn't, but it'd be like, okay, well, on to the next. And it was it's going the opposite way of actually, it's not being particularly tactily empathetic, and it's almost being a bit more 2D caveman. But you know what? If you just really want to go out and get laid, that's what you've got to do. It's not taking it too seriously.
Women respond to that, though.
They do, because it's very visceral, and it's also not requiring her, like you said, it's not requiring her buy-in. It's being like, I'm going to lead and dominate, and that's my game plan. And if she buys into it, she will, and if she doesn't, she won't. And it's okay if she fucks off. And at any stage she fucked off, I'd be like, well, it's all right. I've got another one coming in an hour. And that was the case, right? And then when I started traveling and thinking I had to be, you know, go through this phase of being this very flirty, like Russell Brand-like character.
Trying to be someone that you actually weren't, though, right? Probably because you'd been reading too much fucking game theory. Reading too much theory and thinking that you have to be this like pickup master, which is like, the guys that I know that, you know, from other walks of life that get laid like rock stars, they do not have Russell Brand-like banter. No. Some of them are quite good at like, some of them are quite funny sometimes, but mostly they bring a very strong masculine presence and they fucking escalate and they don't give a fuck what people think. And that's it. And guys are like, oh, well, that's not good game. It's like, no, it is good game. The guy got laid 4 times last week. You didn't get laid at all. You didn't even go and speak to more than 3 women in a week. Who's actually getting success there, right? It's not the dude who's like got good flirting skills. It's the masculine energy turns up and doesn't give a fuck and goes for it. Yeah. So I think really, again, like, I think that's why the David Data book, Intimate Communion, it's a very woofery name, but the content of the book, was his first book, actually.
I know, it's way better than Where the Superior Goose. Where the Superior Goose is just a load of like stitched together phrases, a bit like a pizza with random toppings on, where Pizza Go-Go, where they fuck up the order and suddenly you've got anchovies mixed with sweet corn, you're like, say what? Do you like my new shoes? That's the payment. But the point being is he's like big on, I think, coming back to this idea of masculine and feminine energy. If ever you're on a date with a girl or in a conversation with a girl and you're getting a bit lost, right, what's the masculine thing to do? Lead, penetrate, be direct. Give me your number. Let's go to my room. Bring her in, try and kiss her. Put the hand on the leg. Just go back to basic masculinity and you won't fuck up as much. Right? It's so much easier to fuck up when you try and do all this nuanced bullshit. You're basically trying to outwit women at their own game, which is being incredibly socially high level intelligent. Unless you're a very feminine.
That's actually a very good way of viewing it. Yeah. I've never thought of viewing it that way.
Don't try and beat the girl at her game. Beat the girl at your game, which is bring fucking masculine energy, because you've got a fucking dick and you're supposed to penetrate the world and boss it. Right? Beat her at the game she can't play, but you can absolutely play.
The thing with that as well is that the old school game theory is trying to convince every single girl to like you.
And who was it written by? It was written by very geeky, little like kind of, you know, these kind of basement dweller creatures. I mean, look, let's be honest. Neil Strauss is basically a doppelganger for Gollum from Lord of the Rings, right? Well, he could be. He's like, oh, give up the precious, give me your ring. You know, could double up as that. But imagine a Jocko Willink or a, I don't know, just imagine a masculine dude writing a game book and he'd be like, this is how you get laid. Imagine one of the rugby players that got laid like rock stars from your school writing a game book. Funny. Right, what do? I roll up and I fucking try it on. Yeah, right, don't try and beat the girl at her own game. The only guys who could possibly beat the girl at their own game are verbal wizards like Russell Brand, who himself carries a very feminine energy. And you look at the guy and think, is he actually bowling from the pavilion end? If you're naturally like most of the guys we teach, actually, like me, like Les, where you're actually just quite masculine, quite stoic, don't try and out-verbalise the girl. She spent thousands of years, millennia in caves, bantering with other women, understanding like emotional communication, all this eye contact bullshit. Don't try and beat her at that bullshit. Beat her at just being very physical and direct. Bring 100%. The masculine energy, force her into that feminine role, and then you've got the yin and the yang, which is how it's supposed to be.
100%.
That's it.
Something that's so forgotten about this mindset where you're trying to convince girls to like you when they're sort of on the fence with, verbal tricks and push pull,
and they can read
the conversational backflip,
and they can read it. They can just sense.
First of all, they can sense, but secondly, even if you do win at their game, you're convincing girls that are just keen enough to have sex with you, and those are not actually the girls that you want. You want to. The way I see it is, it's either fuck yes or fuck no.
Yeah, it's a great concept.
You find the girls that really like you, and what's the term?
Polarize.
You polarize the girls that don't like you, right?
And
those
the way
are the
to do
girls
that,
that are
as you said,
extremely loyal.
but the way to do that, as you said, is present a very solid product, right?
Yeah.
I am the guy who brings masculine energy.
But it's polarizing.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and have sex with you quickly. They buy in and they buy out.
So what's the one reason why people don't do that though? Because that's an interesting.
Because the entirety of the game, the dating market for men is based around verbal tricks and tactics and old school American marketing. And let's be honest, the guy who basically founded the industry, Mystery, was a magician. It's all about misdirection and verbals and push pull and all this stuff. That's how you rope in an audience.
Yeah.
But what if you're a masculine guy who brings a masculine energy, enjoys lifting weights, you kind of like being on your own because that's that kind of lone wolf presence that men should have. This invention of like you have to be with women the whole time is fucking horseshit. If you look at historical like masculine characters in power, they dwell on their own because the way you figure out your direction in life and you introspect, you resonate on yourself as a human being, is you have this splendid masculine isolation where you're literally on your own in the wilderness and you're figuring shit out, right? So if you are a guy that resonates with the message we're putting out, i.e. you are quite a masculine man, go back to basics and just start bringing that masculine energy, own your sexual desire, escalate on women and fucking go for it and lead and dominate. And
but why do you think people don't do that though?
Because I think they've been sold this myth of the pickup industry, which we have to do all this verbal
Do you not think it's got to do with being more of a nice guy and not actually... Potentially not that as well. Potentially the fear of not being liked, right? Because the thing is, when you really promote the idea of being that very masculine person, you stand the chance of not being liked by a lot of people, including girls, right? So the thing is, when people do really convey themselves in that authentic manner, a lot of girls are not going to like them, and I think a lot of guys are more happy to stay in that safe zone. Do you know what I mean? Where they stay in that safe zone because the girls sort of, what's that thing? A lot of the time, if you're not very comfortable with polarizing girls, if you're in a bar or something like that, you're sitting down, you're having a drink with her, the worst thing that you can have the girl think or say is when she leaves the bar, she doesn't really remember you. It's much better for her to think, that guy was a bit of a fucking arsehole. Or, wow, that guy was really strong. I really like the flavor of that guy.
The other thing I think the nice guy paradigm, which guys fuck up on, is they think the girl has to actually like you. She doesn't. So I had a great.
This is that tension, the positive
I had a great example of this when I was in Bogota. So I was on a date. I was with a student, a guy called Spencer. He's a cool guy. I don't know if you met him. I don't know if you were here. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Australian guy. Anyway, so I brought this girl on a date to meet me, and she was cool, but I actually preferred a guy who I was already having sex with, and I was a bit bored of the girl I was with. I hadn't slept with her yet, but I was just like, you know what, I quite want to bang the other girl. We had good sexual chemistry. So I left, her name was Natalia, I left her upstairs with the student. And I was like, I'll be back in a second. I just talking, fucked off downstairs, collected the other bird from outside Click Click Hotel, went into my room, and then just disappeared. And then she was like calling me and all this stuff, and I basically just ignored her. And then I got this, about half an hour later,
she actually didn't like you?
No, I started hooking up with the other girl, so I was like, fuck it, I'll leave her, I can sacrifice her, I don't care. I'll leave her with the student, hopefully they'll hook up.
Yeah.
So I was with the other girl, walked into the hotel, started getting physical in my hotel room, and I heard this after about half an hour, furious smashing on the door.
On the door? How did she know where you lived though?
She went and asked the reception. Because she knew that I came here a lot and stuff. And she knew it was my mate as well. Like, I marketed him as my friend, so I was just like, oh yeah, stay with my friend, I'll be back in 2 minutes, I'm just going to go and see someone. But I just fucked off. And you could argue, actually, it was a bit indirect pussy. It's not just being like, you know what, you guys have fun, I'm just going to head off and just leave it. So it's a bit of the validation needing there, and it was kind of like, you get that kind of, let's be honest, there's many sides to you, and there was part of that, like when she was actually hammering on the door, I was like, part of me was like, this is hilarious, because we all want to feel wanted as well.
What did you do? Did you answer the door?
Yeah, I opened the door, and I was standing there with my Johnson and my 2 veg hanging out.
Please tell me you didn't open the door naked.
I did. No, and the other girl was just lying there on the bed, like with her, so she was spun around on the bed, right? Her legs are against the wall, and she's like this, like, she was very like feminine, didn't give a monkey. She was just like, this is funny. Opened the door, this girl is furious. She's like, where have you been? And she looks past me and sees the naked girl on the bed. She's like, she couldn't believe, she was absolutely like, she was going wild, and the student next to me is just like, didn't know what to do. So she goes wild for about 10 seconds, and I just then shut the door. Just calmly shut the door in her face. She goes mental. There's hammering on the door for like 2 minutes, and I just go back to having sex with the other girl. Didn't give a fuck. And then lo and behold, I get an angry text, a really abusive text, like 3 days later, funny. And I say, you better come around and sort this out. And she comes straight around and have sex with her. And it's a prime example of like, you don't need to be liked. No, I'm not saying that doesn't nourish your soul. You shouldn't do that. I don't. The thing is, I actually, you know what? When I'm a dick, I actually much prefer it. You know what? All this tactical empathy stuff. I much prefer just make a complete knob. I've just realised.
Look at her actions, not her words. But that's the whole thing, mate.
But okay, so
that's the whole thing. It's like, look at her actions, not her words.
Right. So this is off topic to the video, but something that's really, and I know it messes with you because you've had similar to me. You have this like. You have this Jekyll and Hyde personality similar to me, probably more extreme, where you have a few drinks and suddenly you go wild and you become this demon character. But I've seen the next day when you revert back to old school, normal Les, you're like, oh no, I can't believe I did that thing yesterday. How do you balance this idea that actually we've both seen, basically being a bit of a dick, gets you actually quite far in dating? How do you balance that with naturally we want to be good people and we want to be empathetic? And then, but we're coming from a nice guy background, so then you can be overly soft. So how do you balance these two things? Because they're really hard. Because when I've gone through phases of loads of drugs, loads of alcohol, and just charging around, like basically being a bad human being, that's when I get the most action. And when I try and be this very good, like almost knight in shining armor, empathetic guy, that's when it's actually most boring for me, and I get the least amount of success. So how do you balance these two fucking things? Because let's be frank, playing that character of the bad guy and not giving a fuck about other human beings gets you more results. But it doesn't nourish your soul the same way as maybe being the more quote-unquote nice guy does.
I think there's so many nuances to this as well, though.
There are. It's not black and white.
I don't think it's black and white. It's like, what are you trying to attract as well at that point in time?
Well, ultimately, if I actually look back as well to the girls that I was fucking during that time, they're kind of bad girls, right?
Exactly.
They're not girls you want to have a long-term partnership with.
Do you not think if it was a type of really, really good girl, you're giving me a very worried look now, digging into memory lane, but do you not think if it was a very like good girl, feminine, like the type of long-term material that you'd want to maybe date, that girl would just be like, oh, this is way too much drama. This is too much sort of...
Maybe, but then again, when I was being a knob, like the girl I met in Odessa, right, the virgin, who then I flew out to Sarajevo when we were teaching boot camp, I put her in a separate house when I was just charging around partying with you guys. Took her virginity, kept her in a separate house, like a caged animal. And she's quite a really good girl, but I've never seen a girl so viscerally respond to just bad behaviour. She gave me her virginity when she knew full well that I was putting her in a separate house, keeping her like almost like a captive. Well, no, this is all sounding very Joseph Fritzl. It's not. She was there voluntarily. But like it was almost a bit like you're acting just like. But you know what it is? It's not giving a fuck. It's being selfish, and it's just being like you doing what you want. And again, at least like women know what they're getting.
If you do that from a conscious place, though. I think if you do it from a conscious place, you're not crossing the boundaries to a certain degree. You're not actually hurting people.
True.
It's all fun and games, you know what I mean? So, I think if you actually do it from a more conscious place, then I don't think you're actually being a malicious person to the degree where people are getting hurt.
And the product we're watching, the main takeaway I've got from that is actually...
the emotional tension.
Well, women, you know, again, he talks about it a lot in the product and, you know, get in touch and we can... put in touch with the product if you want to know more about it. And it's not ours, but it's a very good product in the industry. He talks a lot about the fact that women's modus operandi is drama, it is negativity. And if you look at women's sitcoms and TV shows and the chick flick literature like 50 Shades of Grey, it is drama and it is this crazy like dark stuff, right? And that's what they get off on. It doesn't mean you have to be...
It doesn't mean it's comfortable, it means it's addictive. This is the thing,
It's
right?
addictive, but you can consciously propagate that without being an arsehole. So you're not deliberately ruining someone's life.
How would you do that? If you were...
Well, exactly as he talks about in the product.
Let's go over a few examples. Like if you're a single guy, because I think a lot of people that are watching this are probably single, wanting to have a lot of fun with girls, and then you've got another segment who are in relationships.
Right.
So how would you propagate that if you were single, just having a little bit of fun, and then actually in a relationship?
It's a lot easier. I mean, we're in different sides of the same coin now. So obviously you're in a relationship with a fiery Latina. I'm single, having been in a relationship in all but name for a long time.
Well, it's an interesting perspective, right? It's a very interesting perspective.
I would say, I'd say for me it's very much easy mode compared to you, right? I think being in a relationship, and the more closed a relationship it is, whether that's a ring on the finger or you've agreed to be monogamous, the more clothes it is, the more you've got to be able to hold frame, and actually the more masculine you have to be.
I think it's a bit more difficult.
It's so much harder, man. Like, being single is so easy as a guy. Like, if you've got remote value and you're actually willing to go and put in the reps and you're not being lazy, you can get laid. You're going to fuck up, you're going to be rusty, but if you really want to get laid, you can go and get laid, right? And then often there's a lethargy that comes with that. You've done it a few hundred times, you're like, well, you know, and you're just not, the reason you stop getting laid is because you're not actually willing to put in the effort anymore, and because you become lazy. But the simple fact is, if you're a guy remotely with their shit together, you've got a bit of money, you're not a complete verbal retard, and you can get on a plane to a foreign country, you can get laid like quite easily. Being in a relationship, totally different.
So how would you create that emotional tension that girls love? Because I remember when we were filming
cold
videos
approach,
here,
man. Just
no,
cold
but I
approach.
remember when we were filming videos here about a year or two ago. We were walking in Zona C in Bogota, and you were saying, it's so interesting because we were having this conversation. We were talking about actually artificially inserting tension and drama into the relationship. Do you remember that, or no?
I don't remember the specifics, but I know we would have talked about it.
We would have spoken about that. And now we're watching a product that's all about that. So, in the period in your life, if you're just dating around, how would you actually insert that?
Well, one of the biggest drama inserts, which is the initial thing we teach, which is so powerful, and it really is a shortcut to all of this bullshit, is cold approach. Because what you're doing when you go up to a guy and you've got the balls to go up to and go, hey, stop. It's very dominant. Stop. Right, snap out of what you're doing. I think you're hot. And you're there and you're just having a conversation with her. You don't actually give a fuck what she thinks. Women love that. It's again penetrative with the masculine energy, right? It is. It's penetrating her world with masculine energy. Stop. Right, what you're doing is not that important. What I've got to say is important. That's the subtext, right? And you're there and you're very comfortable doing it because you've done it a few hundred times. That is, I remember the ex I had. She consciously was aware of the fact that after a while that I was working in this industry and we're working with guys and helping them with it. But it didn't matter. In her brain, she never forgot.
Just carry on.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying your rant.
She never forgot, as you steal my words. She never forgot. She literally 3 or 4 years later, she was still obsessed with the fact that I walked up to her on Oxford Street, stopped her. She could not get over it. She was a girl that really thrived on being dominated and like a very dominant
just
energy.
probably a very feminine girl as well. But that's exactly what you want to attract if you learn this though, right? Because it's the yin and the yang. It's the magnets that just attract, right?
Yeah.
And they're the best relationships that you could ever have with this. You don't want a fucking girl from London who's making like 300 or 400k a year on the stock market. It's fucking ridiculous.
This is where guys fuck up though, because they might see a visually very attractive girl, and we've seen it a lot of the clients we work with. But they see the visuals, they forget the energy, right? And her energy is very masculine. It's almost like a dick measuring contest. You can't be in a relationship with a guy with, basically a masculine energy. We can, but it's going to be terrible. But that was a great example of how to propagate attention off the bat. Is go and speak to human beings and be direct with them, right? Stop them, verbally direct. Hey, you're hot. Make some small talk. Get her number. For her, she's like, oh my god, this dude came up to me in the street.
It's like a romance novel, though. But the thing is that girls don't want to fucking, because I think
they don't want to meet someone on Tinder, right? They're not going to be walking down the aisle with a guy going, oh yeah, I'm really excited about the fact I met him.
Left on this motherfucker. Yeah. I think it gives them so much joy to be sitting down at a family dinner and go, you know what, this guy, it almost makes them proud. I think it makes girls proud to sit there with a fucking man who had the balls when he saw them to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to risk my emotional security to go and say hello to this girl.
Yeah.
And
it's come down to vulnerability, right? We've said this before.
Well, that's what's ironic about this. What's ironic about this is that you say that a direct approach is very masculine
and vulnerable,
but it's vulnerable at the same time.
Because
it's contradictory at the same time. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's true, because you don't think of masculinity as vulnerable, do you?
Well, that's
you
the
wouldn't
thing.
pair
a masculine person is extremely vulnerable.
But we wouldn't pair them together. We wouldn't. If you saw like a list of synonyms, like you saw masculine, alpha, direct. It's interesting.
Not vulnerable.
It's interesting because but vulnerable actually goes in there, because I think masculinity.
But most people don't pair it with.
No, and I wouldn't necessarily pair that. But when we're talking it through now, it's like, yeah, that's obvious. That's being vulnerable.
But as well, if you think about it from what we were speaking about before on the conversation that we were having before this, which I wish we filmed, is that if you're extremely honest, then you stand the chance of not being liked. You stand the chance of breaking relationships, of ending relationships, of being viewed as maybe someone who's not that cool, which in essence is extremely masculine, but it's extremely vulnerable at the same time.
And extremely attractive. Authenticity in all forms, you know, whether you're trying to
because it leads back to being completely fine with who you are.
Fine with who you are, and people know where they stand with you. Men in the trenches know that you're going to go into battle with them, and this isn't like consciously thought about. This is just evolution. The man next to you is like, that guy's got my back. Like, if the shit hits the fan, I know he's going to step up and hit someone if he needs to. And women are like, I like that because he can stand up to me, therefore he can stand up to the world. And if you can't stand up to the fucking girl, you can't stand up to the world, right? And when we try and be nice and like let the girl get away with things, she gets frightened because she's like, if this dude can't even stand up to me,
that's a false test, though. That's the thing, right?
But how is he going to stand up to the world if he can't even deal with my shit? And I'm a 5'0" fucking like girl with that literally bleeds and gets milk thrown out of her around bangles. How the fuck is he going to stand up to like some marauding like rival tribe with spears who's kind of come into?
And that's actually what's going on a subconscious level, on a really fucking deep level.
But this is where the game stuff has fucked everyone up, because it's all indirect feminine bullshit. Because the guys that taught it actually had a lot of feminine energy, or they're showmen, you know, they're magicians or whatever, and they forgot the basis for actually dynamic is masculine, feminine, and then we've got societal bullshit mixed in, which is like, oh no, you can't be a straight white man anymore. It's bad to be that. You've got to be all empathetic and like, oh, you've got to, you know, tip your proverbial cat to Kirsty in the office, and you know, it's bullshit, man.
Well, ironically, the people that we wanted to be like weren't teaching this because they weren't worrying about it.
Yeah,
they were too busy getting fucking laid, right? If you think about it like that, the people who weren't getting laid and who we didn't actually want to be like were the people who were teaching it, like Neil Strauss or Eric Von...
Any of the original dudes, right? And I'm not saying I don't really do much research on the market. We probably should do more of it. But I don't know anyone, actually, that works in the London day game scene or anything that actually carries any masculine energy. Apart from us, and I'm not saying we're sitting here.
You think we carry masculine energy?
I'm not sitting here saying we're Jocko Willink style, like we rip heads off, you know, children and eat it for lunch, which he obviously does. But I think we're more masculine than the average fucking, you know, wooftery kind of, you know, original game guy, right? And I don't know many guys that actually carry masculine presence. I think that's where I fucked up in my life with this stuff, is when I've tried to be too feminine, too clever with it. And again, we talked about this, but beat women at their own game, trying to be this like really emotional.
But what does that lead to, though? What behaviours does that lead to?
Leads to us feeling like fucking pussies.
No, but what do you do to make it lead you to feeling like a pussy?
Say that again.
So what does it make you do to lead you feeling like a pussy?
What do I need to do different?
No, so when you give into the game stuff, why does it make you? What are the actions that make you feel?
You're not
like
being. I think you're being very. I think a lot of it encourages you to be indirect and kind of like do all this showman stuff. And women just sit there going, "What's he up to? He's a good-looking dude. He's quite jacked. Basically, I could get away with a lot of girls." Especially when I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know any content about game, and I was actually quite introverted. I would just get away with it because I'd sit in the corner with a girl. I wouldn't say much because I wouldn't really know what to say, and I'd occasionally then just put my hand around and grab them in.
Just thinking, wow, this guy's so smooth.
Yeah, and she's
just going, fuck, I don't really know where to take. I don't really know where to take it from you.
And the girl's like, oh, he's got such a stoic masculine presence. I'm sitting there going, what the fuck do I say? And then I don't have anything to say, so I like down a shot of vodka and like pull her in, make out and go, let's go to mine. And she's like,
pull her onto your lap. And
then the next day she's
so
like on the phone, like twirling the phone, going, oh, you're such a masculine energy. So basically, I was sitting there completely clueless, like a fucking caveman, like fucking pissed, couldn't even see him straight. And she's like, oh, he's so smooth. But basically, it's me not trying to do too much. I think there's a tendency to think, and there's a lot of guys that resonate with this, right? Because, you know, I think some of the guys, like the recent accelerator cycle we've got going on, they're a group of high-value, good-looking lads, right? They've got banter, they've got some friends, they've got laid a few times. And actually for them, it's not about doing too much. It's about turning up to the date and almost being a bit more of the okay, it's almost like, okay, you know, justified to me, right? I'm in my prime, I'm mid-30s, I'm traveling the world, I've got money. You're some, you know, 19-year-old with nothing going on apart from your looks. Well, justify why I'm going to fuck you. And that's that vibe, right? It's that vibe. It's that's instead of being like, oh yeah, so this story, and it's like the girl's sitting there going, what's this guy up to?
This is one of the biggest mind fucks though, because we had a guy.
You have to go full cycle through all this bullshit to realise that it's all bullshit. Yeah. And then you go through it all, throw it out the window, because you realise the guys that you learn this from are not your avatar. And this is what we're talking about in another thing. Play your avatar, right? We're both quite masculine dudes. We're sitting there, we go to the gym, we're quite stoic, we like to be on our own, we carry a masculine energy. Us twiddling around doing all this verbal Russell Brand stuff, it looks weird, and the girl's like, what's he up to? Why doesn't he just sit there and fuck me? I know it sounds like very simple, but it's actually completely on point. Honestly.
Well, this is one of the biggest mind fucks though, because one of the guys that we had on the last workshop George, we're going to be releasing...
That word again. Workshop. DT class at school. Mr. Jenkins.
So you just tell yourself in the mirror?
Right, Marissa Peer, right, this very high level, she works for celebrities and her great story, she's on Spotify. She talks about these really high-end celebrities rolling in, really depressed, and it's like, they've technically got everything, right? They've got everything, they're Hollywood superstars. And their big thing, the thing that she came up with, the like one line that fixes it all, her mantra, she gets them to repeat, I am enough. And she gets them to write it in fucking lipstick on their mirror. Every time they go and wash their face at night, in the morning, brush their teeth, whatever, get out the shower, they see it. And she gets them to, every time she sees the message, look into their eyes and repeat 5 times when they see the message, I am enough. Do that for a couple of months. And you actually start acting from a place of you are enough, and you don't need anything from anyone else. And
that's the biggest thing, right? If you don't need anything from anyone else, then you start acting authentically.
Yeah.
Right. It's that whole mindset that we were speaking about, that we were kept on hammering in. Make it as fun as possible. And if you make it as fun as possible, you don't need that outcome. But when you don't need that outcome, then inevitably
you get the outcome.
You get the outcome. Paradoxically, people go, "Oh wow, this guy, so he's not needy. He's already got everything he needs, right?" So that's especially that's why, like, for example, if you're a guy and you're in a relationship, then all of a sudden girls just start flocking towards you, right? Because they know that you don't need it. Whereas before you were trying to get that outcome. Or for example, if you've already got a few girls that you're seeing, then all of a sudden more girls just want to be around you, which I think it's fascinating. It's paradoxical.
And also, like, you know, just going back to the masculine energy thing, the most laid I think either of us have ever got, whether we've consciously done it or not, is when we've been leaning into a very masculine presence on our edge as men, and not actually doing too much, not doing all this fluffy game bullshit, actually just wanting to get laid. Maybe you've had a few whiskeys, maybe you maybe gone to the gym that day, you've got you jigged up from that, maybe done a bit of boxing. You're just sitting in your masculine, not overcomplicating it. You're being present, and you're going for what you want.
It's such an important thing.
No, but you know what it comes to? It comes from just being genuinely present and actually going for what you want, not hiding your dick. Torero, you know, may he rest in peace, to be fair to him, you know, said that, and it's a brilliant phrase.
Not hiding your dick.
Don't hide your dick. Like, does the girl know what you want at every stage of the interaction? Because if she doesn't, you're being feminine, you're being indirect. She's not a very feminine woman that you want to bang. And let's be honest, the girls that turn us on the most carry that very sweet, feminine, nurturing energy. Guess what? You have to polarize completely the opposite. What is the opposite of that? A hard, direct, masculine presence that isn't afraid to get rejected.
Niching down your ideal target.
Isn't afraid to polarize, isn't overly nice, is a good guy but not a nice guy. Just everything a man should be, and actually owning that. Don't let anyone or society say anything other, because they're fucking blowing smoke up your ass, right? You want a very feminine woman in your bed, you have to be a masculine man.
So what are the biggest challenges that are stopping guys from being that very, very fucking masculine person that can attract the feminine?
Well,
I think that's so important.
This is a great point, and you were about to talk about it before the camera stopped, but Mr. G, who you guys will hopefully see on some videos, on paper you're looking at the guy going, fucking hell, like he's an all-American, jacked, 6'3",
good-looking dude, tall dude,
everything going on,
smashing shape.
But inside, he's got this very nervous disposition, and he sees himself as basically worthless, and it's like, it's mental, because there's a massive discrepancy between who he is, or what we see, and how he perceives himself.
Well, it's great working with him, because
you could see us making reference points happen where he's suddenly like, oh shit,
yeah,
is that actually how it is?
After working with him, you can see him go on a date and smash a girl who's absolutely smoking hot, and he goes, oh fuck, that's really weird, I haven't done that before. And then he does it again, and he goes, maybe this is actually what I've really been deserving the whole time, you know, for the last fucking 7 or 8 years, which is crazy, which is really great, because it indicates the type of people that we work with as well. Easygoing dudes, got their shit together. A lot of the time there's just one leg of the table that's missing, which is going out, fucking approaching, not giving a shit and just making it happen.
Well, I think the leg of the table is like we talked about when we first met up, because you obviously flew in from Miami. This is the first time I've seen you in a few weeks since Mexico, and that what we first talked about, which was on my mind, is masculine presence, and actually just being comfortable in the masculine, and that's it. Not doing too much. Like these dudes, again, don't harp on about it. The guys who released the original game material, people like Neil Strauss, nothing against him, but very feminine, non-masculine dude. What's he got to do? He's got to do all these party tricks to get noticed, right? But actually, the avatar we tend to work with, which is just normal masculine guys, don't overcomplicate it. Don't care how hot she is, some 21-year-old, coming on a date with you when you're mid-30s, you've got a load of money in the bank, you're decent looking, you've travelled the world, you've got knowledge, you speak several languages. I don't care how hot she is has zero value compared to you, right? So it's about, I am enough, sitting in the masculine energy and actually really understanding how much value you have as a masculine guy who can go after what he wants. Because now society is full of fucking pussies. Let's be honest. Most guys you meet, they couldn't fucking stand up in a fight. You wouldn't go to war with them. And they're just fucking flannels. They can't even tell people, what they actually want in life. They don't even have the minerals to do that.
And that women comes out as being passive aggressive.
It does. And women can sense this, right? And you can't unwire, just because we live in the modern age, right? We live in the softest time of all time. It doesn't unwire 2 million years of evolutionary biology. The men that got laid like rock stars back in the day were fucking masculine, they're fucking dominant, they didn't give a fuck, and they would beat the fuck out of other men, kill them, and they would take what they wanted from women and resources, right? And you can't unprogram, just because we live in now a very nice age, you can't unprogram that shit, right? So you're not going out killing people, but you have to be sat there and you have to have, the girl has to think, right, this guy has a propensity for violence. If he needed to, he could tell me to shut the fuck up and he can own his space with me. And if he needed to, someone comes in wielding a fucking knife, he can fucking protect me, right? If you can't project that vibe, and that's a masculine vibe to project, you aren't going to get the girls and you're never going to live that dating life. And it's all based around society now is, be all nice.
It's the ability to be violent but not actually use it.
Not actually be violent, but you have the presence there where she knows.
You have to have the ability to use it, right?
Yeah, well, not even that. You don't need to necessarily use it because, again, we live in, touch wood, we're not going to get shot.
Have the ability to, if you need to, that's the thing. Right?
Yeah, but the way to do that is not actually getting fights in front of her. It's just be like, you've got this presence to you where she knows you can kick off. And that's why we always say...
But the thing is, that can't be faked.
No, and we always say...
That has to actually be real. If something did kick off, it has to be there.
And we always say to guys, one of the key things you can do is actually learn to fight. Like, actually learn to fight. And even if you did 3 months Muay Thai or boxing training, you'll be able to defeat most random dudes who roll up, right? Just from 3 months.
I love your terminology.
Defeat. But it's true, right? And most guys, you're lacking that masculine presence. You can't throw a punch. You can't stand up for someone. If a knife wielding, guy did actually come in on the date with the girl or your girlfriend, you couldn't stand up for her. Like, let's be frank. Most guys watching this, you can't stand up for her. You don't know how to fight. Some guy comes at you with a knife. If you didn't really know what the fuck to do, you'd fucking run away. Like, women can sense that in a man. You can't fake that masculine presence and that dominant energy. You can't fake it. You have to actually cultivate it. So I think one of the big things is actually just doing that. Learning to fight, learning to stand up for people, learning to be assertive, learning to go for what you want in life, not giving a shit about what people think, learning to polarize and being okay with people not liking you. It all stems from that being masculine and not jumping into the feminine. We live in a society that encourages men to be women. It's not okay. You're not going to have a rock star dating life or life, actually. You're not going to have a rock star life unless you're willing and able to sit in that masculine. It's that simple. So it all comes down to masculine, singing the masculine.
100%, and just a different point to that. A lot of the guys that we work with, a lot of them want to attract that very, very feminine girl. And to be able to attract that feminine girl, you have to step into your masculine role.
It has to polarize.
You have to polarize, right? And the thing is, even when you're dating that feminine girl, you still have to be able to step into that very, very masculine role, because if you don't, she smells blood in the water and she tests you, and then she fucks off. If you're not able to maintain that level of energy when you're dating her as well. So
one of the
it's such a key characteristic.
And what's even more fascinating is women are biologically, there's a great book, Practical Female Psychology for the Practical Man, and they talk about the dating process based on evolution, which is essentially what happens is you hook up with a girl, you move in with her, you start becoming soft because
she loses fucking
you stop chasing your mission, and women's job on an evolutionary level is actually to beta-size the male, make him soft, and then go and fuck someone else, right? That's just evolution. So women are incredibly honest because they operate entirely from evolutionary programming. There's no smoke and mirrors. Like, women just look at women's actions, right? So what complicates it even further is you think, because society tells you, just treat her really nice and do all this and just bend over backwards for her, and then you get fucked in the ass metaphorically because she's literally fucking someone else.
Yeah.
And your heart is torn out. It's like that scene in what's that Mortal Kombat where they tear out your heart and hold it beating and then throw it away.
Or Apocalypto.
The
mines where they just rip out your heart and then throw you down the hill. That's such a key point though, right, as well, because it's so hard to maintain that frame when you're actually dating someone, because girls are going to throw every fucking trick, and this is not something to hold against them. This is not something to think
don't take it personally.
Women are fucking evil. It's just what they're wired to do. And one way to flip it on its head and to actually view this as being extremely positive is that they make you become the best man that you can, firstly. And secondly, when you step into that masculine role of becoming the best man that you can, they will give themselves completely to you.
Yeah, when they fully trust that masculine.
When they fully trust your masculine and they become 100% you, 100% dedicated towards you. In my opinion, honestly, there's not a better gift in the world, as wishy-washy as it sounds, than a girl to really just give herself to you, 100% to you, to dedicate herself to you.
No, it's amazing. When they're really in the moment,
and that can't be faked. You can't fake the feeling that when she just fucking.
Yeah, but you know what it comes from? It comes from when you're really dominant. And when I've had the girl I used to date, and previous to that, when I was really seeking that masculine. And you would just see her like be totally vulnerable to you, and it's because you're sitting in that hard masculine role.
But there's just nothing better than that, right?
And the only way you can achieve it though is by sitting in that masculine role.
Yeah.
Unless you want the girl, you want to be taking on the feminine energy role, and the girl's on top of you, bitch slapping you. Take it, bitch, and you're like,
give me more.
which we know probably. I mean, some guys like, but if your name isn't Clint or Reggae, you're probably going to want to sit in the masculine role.
There's an interesting clip though with. Sterling Cooper, you actually had an interview with him, and the one thing he said, which is so interesting, he's like, the best gift a woman can give to a man is just to give herself completely, just to fucking, you are just everything to her. And he's like, most men have never felt that. And I think the one, like you're saying, the one way to actually get there is just to step into your masculine role, right?
And there's
just to own that 100% and not be scared of the outcome.
I think this will be a great video to release to guys, because I think this is so forgotten about. We're so caught up in all this bullshit American marketing of 3 tricks getting a girl wet and approach at this angle and all this bullshit. We forget the basics of just being masculine, which have operated through evolution for the last 2 million years of human nature, which is be masculine, and there's a feminine role and there's a masculine role. And we forget to be masculine. And 2 ways, a way that's really helped guys recently, and if you want these hypnosises, please get in touch. But there's 3 really masculine hypnoses I send out to guys. One of them is developing, it's literally called developing, be a manly man. It's a bit cheesy, but it's literally about developing a masculine presence through hypnosis. It's about 15 minutes long. One of them is sit in your, bring a strong masculine presence, which is talking about just being fully present in the masculine. And one of them is strength of character. And when you combine those 3 meditations, because we operate, it's common knowledge amongst the kind of medical community, I guess, that the subconscious makes up 90% of your actions, belief, thought processes, right? The way to reprogram that and bed that down is through hypnosis.
But just mention that to do that repeatedly.
Yeah,
over a period of at least
so you pick
1 or 2 weeks.
Pick one and do it for 7 days, once in the morning, once in the evening, and you literally change, man. Like I use the hypnosis stuff to stop smoking. I used to smoke like 30 cigarettes a day.
You actually smoke that much?
Rolling tobacco. Yeah, I miss those times. But no, honestly, this stuff works. You even do like one of those hypnoses for like 3 or 4 days, and you're like, what the fuck? Like it literally changes your brain, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, to sum this up, I think this is whether this gets released in parts or a whole video, it's so important, man. Like we've completely neglected this area of the conversation, which is for a long time in our own content, which is actually just sitting that masculine, right?
Yeah.
Not being afraid to fucking dominate, be dominant, not being an arsehole. You don't need to be serious as well. There's this idea, I think, when guys think of masculine, you have to be really serious.
Yeah.
It's not about being this 2D alpha. Like you can be playful and fun, but you are masculine. You're able to defend yourself, your own citadel, and you're able to defend anyone else in that vicinity. And that includes sticking up for people you like. That includes, like, if you feel someone's out of line, calling them on it. That includes having boundaries for yourself. That includes calling women on shit. Just because she's a girl and she's got fucking tits and a pussy and you want to fuck her, if she does something out of line, fucking call her on it. She'll respect you a hell of a lot more, and she'll suck your dick a hell of a lot better if she actually is like, this guy can stand up for himself, right? And it's counterintuitive because we think, we've got to be nice and let her get away with that. And you know what? That's exactly how you push a girl away.
I think most men are nice in the attempt to get love. But the thing is, if a girl doesn't respect you, she won't love you.
You need respect.
Fuck love, give me respect. Because the thing is,
well, it's better to be, what's the quote? It's better to be feared than loved or something.
Or better to be loved by few and hated by many than accepted by all, or something.
Yeah, and again, something like that. It comes down to, again, polarizing people, not being afraid to like piss people off. Don't go, again, I think this is where guys get confused because they think, right, and they always swing the other way, and they think, right, I've got to become this real asshole now, like who hates the world and like starts to fight with everyone. It's not that at all.
Of social intelligence, you know where to stop the pendulum and to be calibrated. And
I actually think most guys don't, and including me. I've swung when you think you need to develop another trait in your armory. I'm guilty of it. I've swung wildly over to the other side sometimes, just being not conscious of it, and then just being like, "What am I?" Then you kind of pull yourself back. And you're like, "What am I doing?" But I think guys have a tendency to think, right, I've got to be more masculine now. I've got to literally walk down around like a fucking silverback and like be really like stern with people. It's like no. Like you said, there is a nuance to it, but it's about understanding that, and that can be hard to explain sometimes.
Ironically, though, you can never necessarily watch that on a video or read a book about it and just understand it on a deep level. It's just all about doing the action, getting the results, fucking up multiple times, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and then just recalibrating and taking it from there. Which, if you think about it from a dating context, just stems back 100% to speaking to more people, which is what basically the fundamental point of this whole video is. Just speak to more people. Speak to more people, get more numbers, go on more dates, date more girls, fuck up, have great relationships, fuck a few of them up, and become a better person at the end of it.
And just to re-emphasize how important this is, I've had one guy through doing this stuff for 10 years who's been too masculine. And one guy out of probably 3,000 guys I've worked with, right? Probably around that number, give or take. There's been one guy who's been too much alpha energy, and we've had to tone him down and give him more nuance. Out of every single other guy has just not been masculine enough, right? So we cannot understate the importance of this. It's literally everything. It is literally everything. You want a very hot feminine woman, which most guys do, you have to be that strong, firm masculine guy, right? And in order to learn that, get in touch with us because we can shortcut that process. It's the longest sales pitch of all time as we slowly get more and more drunk. I've seen your eyes just glaze over slowly as well. Got into demon Les Goose, like, ooh.
Just wherever you are in the world, drop us a message if you want to have a call with us.
We won't ever release. Well, no, to be fair, this could even, these sort of chin wags are great because we're not even trying to say anything. It's more about us just speaking out loud. That's where the value comes from, because I always have this stuff in my head, right? But when you actually speak it out loud with someone else, it really beds it down as that's fucking important. It's so easy to forget like basic stuff.
Well, it's like having a friend as a psychologist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're just speaking out what you're thinking. And the thing is, it's all there. You just need to bring it to the surface to actually internalize it and materialize it. On that note, give us a call and we'll have a chat about your specific situation.
Book a call on the link below so we can help you map out exactly what you want in your dating life, the strategy, the vision, and we can help you get from A to B as quickly as possible, depending on what you want. That's the key thing. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've worked with thousands of dudes. We can save you your most valuable assets, which are your time, your attention, and your money, and get you from A to B as fast as possible. So book a free call, a free dating strategy consultation with us below.